Well, welcome to today's rant. I'm out here on the water with my two faithful companions. Actually, I'm down here with other than dog companions too. I have human companions, but when I go out to do my rants, the only ones who want to come with me are the dogs. But here's Harley. I think you can see Harley. Hey. But there's Lucy. I hope you can see her. They're looking around for porpoises or dolphins that they like to bark at. And we've got a bunch of them here. But anyway, I'll try to show you some if they pop up. But today's theme is, are you tired of winning yet? Of course, Trump said in his campaign, we were going to get tired of winning. We were going to win so much, we were actually going to get tired of it. And say, too much winning, too much winning. I'm personally not tired of it yet, but I have to admit I am shocked at all the winning that we're having. The thing with Kim Jong-un, I know the media's just about avoided it. It was probably the biggest diplomatic accomplishment by any president since World War II, maybe long since then. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's happened there. And we're already getting some reports he's stockpiling nukes, he's doing all this stuff. Listen, we know every single thing he's doing, and we probably have more details about where he's doing it than he may have. I just remember back when all the, bellicose comments back and forth between Kim Jong-un and Trump were going on. A picture was released of Kim Jong-un watching a nuclear test, or I think it was a rocket test. It's pretty close up from behind him, and the little caption was U.S. Army photo, which means our Army took that picture, got that close to him and took that picture. Excuse me a second. Lucy, come here, get down. She's about ready to jump on a porpoise. And so think about that. I think they were just sending a message. No big deal was made of, but I think our military was just sending a message. We can get this close to your leader whenever we want to. How do they do that? Some reports came out of how we had drones as small as beetles and things like that with cameras on them. It could be. I don't know. I know when I was in the military, I was in the Navy, naval aviation, about 50 years ago. Went in 1968. 50 years ago this past April, I went into the Navy. I was attached to a squadron on board the John F. Kennedy for a time. We had a reconnaissance squadron on board. They were A5s that had cameras on board then that when I tried to tell people what those cameras could do, nobody would believe me. Nobody would believe me. And it did sound like something far-fetched, way out of the future. That was a half century ago. And the stuff that our intelligence can do now is they've probably got a beetle right behind me now taking pictures of me on this boat. I don't know, but I'm just saying, we live in a different world. We know what Kim Jong-un's doing. We will know everything he's doing. And so far, the reports are he is really living up to pretty much everything he said he was going to do. He made public statements, signed them. The North Korean leader had never done anything like that. Saying he was going to do it very publicly, committing to doing things. And it looks like it's all working out. Of course, we've got to do some things too. We really need, I think our president committed, we're going to help you develop North Korea into a world-class economy and things like that. There's a long ways to go, and we should. I tell you, if there's any people, any nation on earth where the people deserve to have some, they've been the most oppressed. No, Lucy, get down. Lucy, bad dog, get down. Get down. Come here. Come here. I don't know why she's wanting to jump in the water so bad. I have to say bad dog because they don't understand command sometimes unless I add that. But anyway, okay, that was incredible. Trump went to visit NATO. Last year, he started belly aching about how they were falling short on their commitments. We were keeping our commitment to NATO. Last year, they ponied up another $45 billion for NATO defense. Not us, the other countries. Some of the biggest economies like Germany were doing the least. And he was just saying, you're not going to get away with that anymore. We're not going to contribute our part if you're not going to do your part. This year it's supposed to be 100 or 200 billion more than they had been committing that they're going to add to the NATO budget. And so I'm saying he got the job done there. May have made people mad. Media goes crazy. You can just about, if you don't understand this by now, you can just about always believe the opposite of what the media is reporting and be far more accurate and have far more understand what the truth really is. Our media is just nuts today, and they're demented in their thinking, demented in their reporting. I don't even think they're being dishonest. I think their vision is so colored. They are so controlled and so, I think, deceived by their own arrogance, which, by the way, pride is one of the most deceiving forces there is on the planet, our own pride. But I think they're so deceived by their own arrogance, by their own pride, that they don't have a clue how deceived they are. And I'm just checking to be sure my dogs are still on board. I don't know what they're after so much. But anyway, so just believe the opposite of what the media is saying. Well, then Trump, of course, he also, confronted the EU, has been confronting them, putting tariffs on their goods. You know what the EU had done to us? They've been saying this for years. They would not even negotiate on free trade with us until we made a commitment, a signed commitment, never to ever put any tariffs on any EU goods or trading. Think about that. They've got horrible tariffs on our goods going into the EU. I mean, 25, 30% sometimes, unbelievable tariffs. But they're saying before they would even talk to us about these things, we had to make a commitment to never, ever put tariffs on them. How bizarre is that? Well, how bizarre is it that our leaders succumb to that? And Trump he gets in, he said, there's no way. Matter of fact, we're going to start slapping tariffs on you. Whatever you put on our goods, we're putting on your goods. And that's all we've been doing. They've been calling a big trade war and just everybody going crazy over it because the media is deceived. They don't really understand what's going on. They couldn't to be reporting the things that they're reporting and the way they're reporting it. So they basically report the world is going to end. I just heard a porpoise close by. You can tell when they come up and breathe. But anyway, they come out with all this stuff, how it's going to hurt everybody, our prices are going to go through the roof. Now that's all EU propaganda that our media is reporting. They are far more serving the interest of our adversaries right now than they are us. I'm talking about our U.S. media in general. They take our adversaries' party line almost every time over our own. It's not all of them, but it is by far most of them. And they're globalist. They're affected by the globalists, and those who have globalist motives. They're going to toe that party line. Well, I think it was not long at all, been just a few weeks, the leader of the EU comes over, makes major concessions to Trump yesterday. All the details haven't come out, but it certainly got a long ways to go to make things fair and truly fair and free trade, but it was a major beginning. Not only that, now China is in no position to go to any kind of trade conflict with us. Absolutely no position at all. And they know it, we know it. But this thing, I think they thought that they could make deals with the EU and both of them gang up on the US and we would cave. Well, this thing yesterday preempted that. If nothing was accomplished, just the willingness to talk, but I think a whole lot more was actually accomplished. But even if just that was accomplished, watch now that the Chinese don't come to the table. They need to. Now, Trump is, I told you this a long time ago in one of our rants, his ultimate goal is true fair trade and true free trade. He wants no tariffs on anything, anywhere, no subsidies, no national subsidies on anything, anywhere, and produce true free trade throughout the world. He may actually get it done. Now think of all the battles that our president is going through. Just think of the constant personal attacks on him, and he is accomplishing some of the biggest things, most important things for us as a country, I think, that have been accomplished for us as a nation since before World War II. It is truly amazing. The guy can fight 50 battles at a time. I mean, it's like, I know it has to wear him, and I know if he weren't having to fight all this stuff, he would be doing even more, which scares the daylights out of the globalists. They couldn't be more afraid of that, because look at what this guy is doing. Now, I don't know about all of his personal issues. He is certainly acknowledged, he has not lived a perfectly moral life by any stretch of the imagination. He's done a lot of stuff. He admitted to doing a lot of stuff in business. He doesn't think that we're illegal, but we're just taking extreme advantage of the laws and all this way every businessman does. And you have to do it to survive in the present business climate. But what he was saying was, look, I know how wrong these laws are, and I'm going to change them. Even though he admits to taking advantage of them, he had to. He said, they're wrong, we're going to get them changed. I believe he is. And, but anyway, to make a long story short, I just sit back and marvel. I said, I can't believe all that this guy's getting done. Now, when I met with Trump personally, I had a couple of things I wanted to say to him that I hoped he would get. I was in a little meeting, about 6 people, and everybody was clamoring for the whole time to share their thoughts, their positions on things. Almost everyone. There were a couple of guys sitting there quiet. I was not going to butt in. I was just sitting there. Finally, Sid Roth spoke up and he said, Mr. Trump, there is one thing you've got to hear, if anything, from this whole meeting that we're having now. And he pointed at me and he said, he's going to tell you. And all of a sudden Trump looks at me and I had the whole floor. So I downloaded on him as quick as I could. I figured I had a minute or two before everybody else is going to jump in. And I did. And I felt an anointing on it. I felt a tremendous anointing on it. I saw his eyes get big. And sure enough, after the meeting, he walked over to me, pulled me aside, and he said, I heard what you said. I'm going to follow through on this. Now, I've heard this from politicians many times. Nothing happens. But Trump was different. Within a few days, I heard he had followed through. And one of them was, I told him he really needed to make connection with the group United in Purpose. They were doing something really significant that could really help him in his election. And sure enough, they were the ones who put on the whole meeting that drew all that. They said it's the largest meeting of top-tier Christian leaders maybe in history that came together there in New York. I was at the meeting. It seemed like everybody was there. It was like the biggest family reunion of Christian leaders I've ever seen. And Trump hit a grand slam at that meeting. I know many of them were just outraged at him at the time. They didn't like him at all. They got won over by the end of that meeting. I was shocked. Well, he had followed through. He had done it, and something significant had happened. Well, there was one other thing I mentioned to him. I said, we were so tied in knots as an economy by all the screwed up regulations that weren't accomplishing anything but were like pouring sugar into the gas tank of our economic engine. I said, he should pass a law or do something where no regulation for anything could be added without the removal of 2 other regulations. He got that too. You know what he'd done? I got a call. I was on a White House call recently, a few weeks ago, and that was brought up, and they said, we haven't just removed 2, we have removed 22 regulations for everyone added under our administration. 22. I just said you need to remove 2 for everyone. They had gone, and really you could probably remove 1,000 for every regulation added, and it would still take us a long time to get down to what was really needed and what were really truly effective and needed regulations. But anyway, I am just so excited by what is going on. I expect the battles to increase. I think even the personal battles that Trump is fighting is going to end up doing great good for the whole country. And this is how I think they're going to do good. The deep state is being revealed more and more by the week. And the deep state is the greatest threat to our republic that there is right now. And listen, they are being exposed almost by the week. It's going deeper and deeper, more and more being exposed. And I think a lot of it is because of their thinking they can get to him personally, attack him personally. All these things are going to work, and all this stuff that's been coming out with the FBI and what they were doing. Our other intelligence communities were involved in all that too. And I think it's going to reveal and get us down to where our government is really of the people, for the people, and by the people again. That's my opinion. Thank you for joining me for today's rant. Thank you.